Good evening. Good evening. Today is Wednesday, September 23rd. Thank you for joining us for another virtual town hall. Before I get into the Ohio numbers, I wanna recognize the pain that we as not just as a nation, but as a global community of the world that we've endured over the many lives that we lost due to coronavirus. Just yesterday in the U.S., we hit 200,000 deaths. That is a significant number. That's moms, dads, brothers, sisters, sons, daughters that we have lost as a society, and it is painful. And I want to recognize where we are in this pandemic. So I want to take a moment to just recognize the situation and do a moment of silence. So please join me in a brief moment of silence. Thank you. There are no words to say what, or to express what families around the country must be feeling of having lost loved ones to this pandemic. But my thoughts and prayers are with everyone. All right, so in Ohio, today, we're at 146,753 cases. Here in the county, we're at 1,397. In Yellow Springs, we are now down to one case. So that's one of their cases dropped off. So we see that as good progress, as we were a bit of a stagnant with between 2 and 4 cases over the last couple of weeks. So it's good news to see that number declining. On our general updates, we as a community are doing well. We are moving forward with many of the projects we have announced. Johnny and the team have made an additional purchase of hand sanitizer solution. So we've purchased almost 250 gallons of hand sanitizer solution. That's a lot of solution, and we expect that this will supply us with material through the winter months and into the first quarter of 2021. So we will be able to properly maintain all of our hand sanitizer stations and continue refilling them. I know it's particularly important now that we are entering the flu season, and we also have a lot of business activity in our downtown corridor. And we want folks to be safe and have the right resources to be safe. For our businesses out there, if you continue to struggle acquiring hand sanitizer solution, we continue to make that available. So please come to utility windows. We've put out a form previously where we ask everyone to submit a form so that we can track all the supplies that we're giving out so we can refill them and whatnot. So please, if you still need a hand sanitizer solution, we are making it available at no cost to you. On the public Wi-Fi downtown, as you know, Thor and I have been working on the design. We are getting very near to a complete design on what that model will look like. The model has changed. We went from a completely wireless mesh model to a fixed wireless. The fixed wireless means that we will run fiber to select areas of the downtown and connect the public access points, the Wi-Fi devices, to a physically connected service. And this would ensure a good quality internet connection for all of our residents, for school children and customers. So we're working through that project. We're also looking to extend fiber down Corey Street and to be able to service multifamilies and multifamily units and other residential communities that do not currently have access. So we're moving forward with that. Also, we have procured equipment technology to upgrade the John Bryan Center, the library, and the train station with ionization filtration technology. This technology will allow us to improve the air quality in the facilities by being able to filter out bacteria, virus, mold spores, and other contaminants in the air. that can affect the quality of life and the air quality in these facilities. So we started the work today. The train station was being worked on today. The library is next, and we hope by the end of the week that the library will have a new HVAC system or this new technology in the HVAC system and improving the air quality. The John Bryan Center will follow after that. So we're using coronavirus funds to make these improvements, and it's a proper use of the funds, and it's very much a needed service in these facilities. With that, I will now give the floor to Chief Altman, who we are looking to partner in activity as agencies and also with our community members. So Chief, floor is yours.
Well, jinkies, Josue. Jinkies is all I can say. I'm here tonight in front of this dilapidated old scary mansion with Fred, Velma, Daphne, Scooby-Doo, of course, Shaggy, and noted mystery aficionado Dino Pallotta. And we're here on a special project, but first I got to do my job and talk about Corona stuff. So, as Josue said at the top of the hour here, we passed the 200,000 benchmark for fatalities in the United States, which from a healthcare professional standpoint is ludicrous. It's ridiculous that something that is so easily managed has now killed more Americans in the last 5 military conflicts that we've fought in as a nation. And for politicians who say it doesn't affect you, it doesn't affect, do you know anyone? We all know someone. We've all been touched by this virus, either by an infection or unfortunately by a fatality, as is the case in my family, my cousin Lenny. So don't let anyone tell you this isn't real and this isn't important. It is. It's very real. So how do we fight it? Again, it's simple. 6 feet apart and wear your mask. It's that easy. Masks aren't fun, but wear them. One of the things that came out today in the world, or yesterday actually, in the world of infection control from the European CDC and also from studies that the U.S. Army has done, is something that we knew in healthcare, but I guess now the rest of you are catching up. If you go out in public and you're just wearing your plastic face shield with nothing else, you're not doing anything. So if you choose to go that route, you really need to have a mask on underneath it if you're going to be anywhere near people, so it makes a difference. When our guys do it at the fire department, we've got an N95 underneath it, you've got safety glasses, and then that face shield. It'll help keep splatter off your face, but it's not going to do a whole lot in terms of other infection control with droplet control and everything. So remember, out in public, social distance, and wear your well-fitting mask. Nothing crazy loose, and it needs to cover your nose. Not like that. And it shouldn't be a chin strap, otherwise you look like some bizarre Amish person. So we don't want that. Now, why am I here in front of this dilapidated old Scooby-Doo mansion? It's simple, because it was a mystery. There was a mystery that Josue told us we had to go out and solve. And that mystery was, what are we going to do for Halloween? ODH says we got to be careful with Halloween. The CDC now says don't trick or treat because, and this is real, when people scream, virus goes farther. So, working with our friends at Hanna-Barbera and with our partners at the police department in the village and our wonderful contractor, JCAR Construction, it looks like you'll be able to do a drive-through trick-or-treat at the fire station, the new fire station, on the 31st. You'll be able to hop in the car, pile the kids in, drive through. We'll scare you. We'll give you some candy, some other treats, some scary things, maybe a couple ghosts. Who knows? Maybe a little hand sanitizer. Who knows? But it's promising to be a grand old time. So just watch your screens, watch Facebook, watch Twitter if you do that kind of thing. Maybe we'll have a plane fly overhead and drop leaflets all over the place, but they'll be biodegradable. So it should all work. So mark your calendars now, October 31st, the Miami Township Fire Rescue / Village of Yell Springs / Yell Springs Police / Clifton Halloween blowout at our new firehouse, which we think is going to be 101 East Herman Street. But it's the big building at the corner of Herman and Xenia Avenue. You can't miss it. So it'll be fun. I promise. Scooby promises. Dino even says maybe he'll have some special Dino brew for people. Just committed you, Dino. Ha! So that's all I got. If nothing else, I'm going to throw it back to you, Josue.
All right. Thank you, Chief. And now we will hear from Chief Carlson. Chief, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Josue. I've got an update at the request of Pan Wright for our mask calls for service. Basically a breakdown since it started. We have 18 calls total. 13 of those were called to the Spirited Goat in front, and I can give you an update there. 3 were called from a vehicle, and 2 calls refusing information. The disposition on most of them, officers arrived, masks were passed out. Many of these were, by the time the officers saw what was happening, there was social distancing. Several of them had medical issues. Numerous ones claimed that. Unfortunately for us as law enforcement professionals, we can't argue that. Hopefully we might be able to get the laws changed in that direction to help us there, but that is something that I believe people do use, and it's unfortunate. I am pleased that locally we only have 1 positive case in the village, and we will think about that person and hope that they heal quickly. And feel free to reach out to me directly should you have any questions, but please, again, as I've always said, do not engage yourself. Contact us. That's what we're here for. And in the moment, the best advice I can give is to avoid that potential conflict. I also have another message for everyone tonight that has come up on our radar, if you will. We've received some concern expressed about potential Trump vehicle rallies passing through Yellow Springs on US 68. Some of the posts on Facebook indicate that it will be continuing throughout Sundays. We don't have any information or intel that would confirm this. And typically for these type of events, no notification is given. One, to protect the travelers, and 2, because they don't want to create a scene as well. I do want to put everyone's mind at ease that this is not elevated for us, the police department. We will be here responding as we always do. Please get out, enjoy your days. I do ask that the community stand together. We have received some Facebook posts from residents talking about throwing eggs and other things. And I know that we are not that community. We wouldn't do that. We are a community of people that have achieved reasonable and caring thinking through many years of education and life experience. Should that situation arise, let's raise our pride and extend our arms in love and solidarity. And in that way, we can seek to change others. And most importantly, get out and vote. That's it for me, Josue. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Florence Randolph. Florence, do we have new updates on the Learning Center program that you and Samantha have been working on?
Hi, Josue, and everybody on the call. The updates I have there, we have confirmed 4 tutors for the Learning Center, 3 for math, 1 for reading, and a 5th is in the wings, waiting for us to ask for her services. And that would be our very own Mayor Pam. We're so glad to have those people available. We are ready to start taking appointments for the Learning Center to help with the math. We also have times arranged for the students to have some social activity according to the guidelines. And we're excited about it. And I don't know if I mention this on this call, but the big news is the Miami Valley trustees approved $20,000 for utility payments along with housing. So that's exciting. And we're working on the parameters for releasing the money. And I think that's all that I have, unless there are questions.
Thank you, Florence. There may be questions from the chat, but I want to thank you, Florence, for the work that you're doing to ensure that we can create a safe learning.
Josue, back to you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Florence. I want to say thank you for the great work that you're doing, Florence, to ensure that we can create a safe, welcoming, and learning environment for children, school children who don't have other options. I know it hasn't been easy to consider redesign and also reach out to get the tutors that you've gotten. But I want to recognize your work and Samantha's work on getting this program done.
Thank you. It's a joy to be able to do it.
Yes, thank you. And to the tutors and all the volunteers that came forward, I really appreciate what you are doing, stepping up and finding a way to help in any way that you can. So I really appreciate that. So thank you. And great job, Florence, on securing those financial resources for utility assistance. That it was something that we were worried about, that we would not have funds to be able to cover it. And thank you to Miami Township trustees, Chris, Don, Mark. Thank you guys so much for making such a valuable resource available. All right, now Mayor Pam. Floor is yours, Mayor Pam.
Thank you very much, Josue. Good to be with you tonight and good to be with everyone. I've got a few announcements and a few reminders. You know, food security is on the rise during these COVID days. Yellow Springs is no exception. And to help out in a time of need, we've got a food drive coming up on this Saturday, a one-day devoted effort to raise collection of non-perishable food for our 2 free food pantries. This has been announced in the newspaper. It's been announced on social media sites. Philip's done a great job with putting up this flyer and notifications and so forth. So I just want to give you a final reminder during the town hall that on Saturday morning, this Saturday morning, between 8 and noon, you can take your non-perishable items to the Yellow Springs Farmers Market at Antioch University Midwest. Drop them off there. During the afternoon on this Saturday, from 1 to 4 o'clock at the Presbyterian Church Walnut Street entrance, by the other little free food pantry, you can bring your non-perishables. There's a list in the paper as to what it is they're looking for. The old standard canned goods, non-perishable, dried box foods, and so forth. So let's help make the folks' jobs who it is to supply those pantries a little easier by upfront chipping in before the weather gets really bad. Announcement number 2 has to do with my typical reminder for your plan to vote. I received this in the mail this week. I'm sure you probably got one too. And twice they mentioned that magic word of have a plan. You have approximately 11 to 12 days left, depending on how you count them, to get registered to vote. Has to be done by Monday, October 5th, because on Tuesday, we start our absentee voting. We also start 28 days of early voting, October 6th through November 2nd. So lots of days to vote early, time to get your absentee ballot request in. They'll start mailing those out. And then, of course, Election Day itself on Tuesday, November 2nd. Many options. The most important thing, of course, is to have your plan, your voting plan. So, as Colin said earlier, wear your mask. Also, if you're getting your flu shot, make sure that that is on your list of things to do. Flu shot, COVID confusion, it can happen, and you want to make sure to be prepared for the fall time. Wear your mask, get your flu shot, plan your vote. That's what I got for you tonight. Thank you. Back to you, Josue.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mayor Pam.
You're welcome.
We will turn to questions. Let's see. Philip, do we have any questions that have come in? Okay. All right. I see. Okay. All right, Mayor Pam, I think this one's for you. If we requested an absentee, can we still change our mind and vote in person? It's an important one.
Well, my understanding, the answer to that is yes, but it would have to be a provisional vote. To vote twice is a felony. It can be a felony. So I know some people are saying that one can do that to check on the status of your absentee vote. But you may vote, yes, in person, but they would hold that as provisional to see the status of your absentee ballot if you voted on that. Does that make sense?
It does, Mayor. And how about if someone requested an absentee ballot, they got an absentee ballot, what's next? What are their options?
Well, their options would be to use the absentee ballot to vote or go in on election day and vote, but they would have to vote, it's my understanding they would have to vote a provisional ballot.
Mm-hmm.
And they would, Laura Curlish, you're on this call. Am I reading that the right way?
Yes, that's what my answer would be as well. Because
Okay.
if they've already mailed out the absentee. Now, maybe if you go in early, like the first day, and you say, hey, I'm on your list, but don't send me it, they might be able to take you off the list, but you need to go in early.
Yeah, good luck with that, right?
Right.
Right.
So what if you got an absentee ballot, but you didn't ask for it, but you got one in the mail, but you haven't done anything with it?
If you didn't ask for it, what you've got is an application for an absentee ballot. And those have been mailed out by some like 501c4 groups and even the Secretary of State. So an application is not a ballot. So sorry about my dog. If you want, that's why you have to have a plan. So my plan was I'm going to vote by mail. So a long time ago, I sent in my absentee ballot request. Now I don't have my absentee ballot because those are being mailed on October the 6th. So then they'll start mailing those out and I just need to sit on my hands and wait on it, get it, send it back in. Was that answering your question?
I think that covers it. Thanks, Laura.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, Philip, any other questions? Okay, thank you. We have another one. What can we do to help the homeless folks in the village? I suppose that there are several groups of homeless individuals and they require different services. If I understand the question correctly, what it may be asking about particular groups, and I've spoken about this before, there are homeless individuals that hang around the Dayton Street corridor, and this is also the group that we received a lot of complaints about regarding the mask wearing. It is a difficult situation because we don't have one. We don't have shelters in the village. We don't have housing assets that can help place the homeless population somewhere. Our police department is very active in connecting with the individuals that are homeless or have a need for mental health services and other needs for other services. Police department is really good at connecting with them and trying to find them a place to place them, whether that's shelters and other programs. I can, Chief, if you're available, I think this is a an area that you've put a lot of effort and energy in trying to.
Absolutely. Well, so number one is you can contact us always. We're maintaining constant contact with the folks that we know have needs. You know, we have kind of a split personality right now going with homeless that they're kind of choosing that. Florence has done an amazing job connecting some of the folks in need with shelter homes. They've refused those. But I think when winter hits, it's going to be a different story. So step one, again, contact us. Should you see anything, it's never a bother, and we're happy to respond. Step two is feel free to reach out to me directly or Florence Randolph. And we definitely can provide services and places for anyone who's willing to help. We have a lot of volunteers right now with COVID that actually has helped us in many regards with the homeless population. But we're still maintaining. I do know that officers, we have reported, we believe we have 4 new young homeless people in town. We're caring for those as well now. I think they're all healthy, and this is more of a choice. But at the same time, we don't discern that. So don't ever hesitate to call us if you see anything, and don't hesitate to call me or Florence if you'd like to see where you can help. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Philip, any more questions? Okay. All right, we'll give it a few seconds to see if there are any additional questions that come in. Now, what I want to remind the audience that we are going to transition after this, we're done with the town hall, to talk about the village's the council's resolution to extend services to the parcel in the south side of town. And what does annexation look like? We've received several questions on the matter, and we want to provide a presentation, same presentation that we did at council, but want to also provide an opportunity for you to ask questions and engage with us on any of the concerns that you have. We're hoping to get as much information as we can out there about the process and what's in the works now. Joining me tonight for that conversation is Johnny Burns, our Director of Public Works, and Denise Swinger will join us when she gets out of another meeting, the BZA, which is the Board of Zoning Appeals Board. When she's done with that meeting, she'll join us in this virtual room and be part of the conversation. So Philip, any additional questions? Okay, I think with that, we're gonna wrap up the town hall, and we're gonna transition into a town hall about extending services to that parcel on the south side of town. So thank you for joining us for the virtual town hall. The team will be here again next Wednesday to discuss any COVID-related updates and responses. So, all right, I will bring up my presentation and start with that. Okay. Sean, I will be sharing my screen. Okay. All right. Sean, let me know when you have it, when you see it on your screen there. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay, you see the full presentation? Okay, all right. During Monday council meeting, council voted to adopt a resolution of services to be provided for the proposed annexation of approximately 33 acres on the Northeast Hyde and West Espelan Road. 1 second, I see. All right, Denise is in. Dino is in. Sorry, I apologize. I've received a request for folks to join the meeting, and I'm also hosting the meeting. Okay, back to the presentation. So what part of town are we talking about? I am going to show you a map. And we're talking about this area. It says unincorporated Miami Township property. This is a map that was created by the Yellow Springs News team. They have a great team there. They're making, they make maps as part of their reporting and publishing services. So this is the map that they created. So we're talking about that great parcel square on the south side of the picture here. The north graded area, that's already incorporated into the village. So that's already village property. There isn't anything new to address there as part of this presentation. Or as part of the resolution to extend the services or the annexation. The annexation, potential annexation, extension of service only relates to this unincorporated Miami Township property. This is the list of questions that we received from council and citizens. There were concerns about utility capacity. Could we support it? There's a narrative out there that our utilities are in really bad shape, that we cannot add additional capacity. What are the projected revenues from this development? What does it mean for us? Income tax, property tax, utilities revenue. How would this affect our population inside? Are we going to become a city as a result of this development project? And what's it going to do to our schools? Can our schools handle it? Are there even enough room or seats in the school? So I'll get into these particular questions. On the utilities, some of our utilities are in bad shape. You've heard me talk about our infiltration and inflow. Our sanitary line is in bad shape, and we need to do things right away. And we started that work. We started that work this year. We started relining several of the pipes, some of the pipes that are the most affected. So we recognize there are challenges, but these challenges would not keep us from adding additional customers onto the system. Particularly in this part of town. This is an area where it's easily accessible and there's sufficient capacity in the sanitary line that service that area. This is one of the newer lines, and unlike 70% of our flows on the north side of town and closer to the downtown area, this sanitary line runs its flow directly to the plant. The other parts of town, the northern part of town and anything close to town, all that sanitary flow goes through our lift station that's located on Xenia Avenue, right across the street from where John Bryan Center is. So this is a good area for sanitary sewer. Our water service, this is also one of the areas closest to our water plant. Our water plant was built to provide 3 times the demand that our current village population has for water services. Our plant is capable of producing 1 million gallons per day. We're currently pumping 350,000 to 400,000 gallons per day. So this is less than half of the capacity that we have to produce water. And even in this number of 350,000 to 400,000 gallons per day, there's some leakage in there. We know that we have some leaky pipes underground, and Johnny is working hard of identifying those and stopping those leaks so that we are not producing water that is going straight into the ground. So even with that production, once we're able to address all the leaky pipes that we have, we'll be producing less water because our community demands less water. On electricity, we have capacity available, and the new demand is manageable. At our next council meeting, Johnny Burns and I will be presenting on the conditions we'll be presenting on a study we recently completed for stormwater and a study for electricity, looking at our grid and what capacity we have. So in short to say, we're able to fulfill the demand of any new development that could go on the site. All right, on projected revenues, this is specifically on utilities, and these numbers are estimates. We did our best, not necessarily guess, but working with the data and the information we have, we anticipate that what could be developed on the site with annexation at the current, the preliminary proposal the developer has, which is very draft form. They're looking at the size of the development, the acreage, and what they can build there. They haven't done, they've done some preliminary engineering, but they're far from an exact site plan. So based on our conversations with the developer, they could build up to 138 homes on the site. So we did our math, looked at, okay, how much is the readiness for service for each home, for water, for sanitary, and for electricity. And these are the numbers that we came up with. On a monthly revenue, we're looking at almost $4,500, and an annual revenue, almost $54,000. This is just on readiness for service fee. This is what everyone pays just to have a water line connected to their home, a electricity line connected to their home, and having a sanitary line access. There are additional revenues that come from the consumption of the utilities, that being how much water you buy, or how much water you consume, and how much water you put down the sanitary line. And also with the electricity, how much electricity you use. On electricity, I think we've last year we discussed electricity and usage and the model that we have here in the village. And we, as part of the residential solar program, we put out our financial model, and we talked about how much does it cost us to buy electricity. So I think the public knows that we buy our electricity on average for 9 cents, and we sell it for 11 cents per kilowatt hour. And there's a 2-cent difference there that helps cover operating costs and other maintenance and improvements to the system. So all that additional revenue we get from all of our utilities is reinvested in making sure that our system is ready to deliver essential services that you rely on. Now, what happens if there is no annexation? Well, the developer or the owner has development rights. They own the property. There's certain development that they can engage in without the council or the administration weighing in, particularly on that township side. Now, you see the number that without annexation is still relatively high. It's 113 accounts. And that's because there is a court settlement that require us to provide utility services to that Miami Township parcel. So even if the owners and the developers decided not to annex into the village, they have a right to build, and they could build up to 79 homes and 34 in the village, and that would make the total 113. And what would that revenue look like just on readiness for services? That's almost $3,800 monthly revenue, and around 45.3 thousand on annual basis. If we were in person, I would ask you, do you have any question on this slide? But we'll wait until we get through the slides, and then we'll open up for questions. On the income tax from construction, as you may be aware, that anyone who works in the village that earns an income in the village, it is subject to income tax. 2 types of income tax. One is for the village government, and one is for the schools. This one only considers, this model before you only considers the income tax on that the village as a government is entitled to. So we ran a couple scenarios here. What happens if all 138 homes that are built are all built in Yellow Springs? Meaning, what if property has already been annexed and construction's underway? We looked at the total construction cost. Based on the discussions with the developer, the average cost of the home would be around $280. There'll be homes that would be below it. There are homes that would be above it, and probably some significantly above of $280. There are folks that may want high-end things and whatnot, and that would drive the cost. So we're working on averages for the purposes of calculating some figures here. So we'll be looking at a total cost of $38,640,000. With the industry standards for labor costs for home construction, that labor cost is around 43%. So that would make the labor cost that's subject to income tax to come out to $16.6 million. That could yield $249,228 in income tax revenue during the construction of this project. If the property is not annexed and there are only 34 homes built in the village, then that total cost of construction will be around $9.5 million, with the total labor cost subject to income tax being $4 million. That would yield around $61,000 in income tax revenue. All right, what about property tax? I think you're all, most of you are very familiar with the property tax. You get a property tax bill and it breaks out the value of your home times the assessment ratio, and that is your assessed value subject to property tax. So what does tax revenues will look like for Yellow Springs with annexation and without annexation? So let's start with without annexation. Without annexation, we will look at those 34 homes being valued at $9.5 million. When you factor in the assessment value, the assessment ratio, the assessed value comes out to $3.3 million. So the property tax over a 10-year period is $423,948, so almost $424,000. What is the net present value of that figure? What is that amount in today's dollar? Because these revenue streams will be collected year after year for 10 years. What is that worth today? That's $376,000. Now, what if development happens under annexation and all of it gets built in the village? We'll be looking at property tax revenue of $1.7 million. The net present value will be $1.5 million. So we'll see almost 3 times the property tax revenue income. Now with property tax, there are a lot of things that would need to be factored in for an exact measurement, such as the levies that are due every 5 years, and we're assuming that nothing changes for the 10 years. There's also a reassessment period where many of the levies don't, the increase, the municipality, or we don't get additional increase when the readjustments are made for property taxes. So these are just numbers that we use the data that we have, the tax table, and the information that we have on the development, and just factor those revenue streams for the 10 years. So in short, some of these revenues will be direct revenues to the municipality. The others will be help offset the tax burden for residents, meaning you got fixed tax millage that's being taxed. That tax revenue gets distributed, or burden gets distributed among all the homeowners, property owners in the village. Okay, how would this affect our population? We put up a chart on the population trends in the village going back to 1970. You'll see from the chart and the numbers that the decline from 1970 to 2010 is it's a reduction of 30%. The decline from 1970 to 2019 population estimates, that's a decline of 19%. So our village is certainly smaller now than when it was in 1970. Now, there are a lot of factors that are involved there. We've got Antioch School, and they change in family, the unit size, so there are a lot of things that factor into that. So I can't speak to all the things that are involved, but certainly the numbers speak for themselves. This is census data, and they're clear that we have less individuals. We're a smaller village than we once were. Okay, now school capacity. If you had the opportunity to join us on Monday at the council meeting, we heard from Superintendent Terry Holden and School Board President Steve Kahn, and they weigh in on the school's capacity. It was clear that they have capacity in the school. Just looking at their open enrollment number from 2019 to 2020 school year, they had around 190 open enrollment students. Many of these families, they want that Yellow Springs experience. They want the Yellow Springs culture. They want the Yellow Springs schooling. Unfortunately, they're not able to live here, and they want to live here. So I think that was part of the point from superintendent and board president, that the school system needs more families. They have capacity. But one of the points that Terry Holden made that really resonated with me is that, yes, we need more housing for our families, but we also need more affordable housing, things that are within our family's price point to live here. So that's an important piece to recognize. In closing, Yellow Springs newspaper in 2018 referenced a report from 1972 on the local housing needs that was prepared by the League of Women Voters and the Community Planning Committee. And I'm gonna read it as I think it was Megan Bachman who wrote it, but I'm reading it as the newspaper quoted it. If that world out there does not decrease its demand for housing in Yellow Springs, and we do not attempt to meet some of the demands, we will become more and more of an upper middle class community. We recognize that if we make a decision not to grow, we're also making a decision to eliminate low and moderate income families from our community. So we know that housing has been an issue that our community has discussed, clearly going back to 1972, and most recently in the Bowen housing study that the village had done recent years, that we have housing challenges, and here we have an opportunity to address them. It may not be perfect, but we certainly have an opportunity to address them. And with that, Philip, I will end my presentation there, and we will open to questions. Okay, I know we've got people on Facebook and YouTube. I can see the ticker that folks are watching. So please send in your questions through the YouTube chat box or the Facebook chat box. We are reading those. Philip is right here in front of me. He's got his screens up, so we will take your questions. All right. Okay, I see a question from Eric Clark. I think I asked this at the last presentation. Is there land around the new annex property which the Community Land Trust has placed conservation easements? Eric, I am not aware that there's any easement on this particular property. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gone far on any potential development there. So I'm wondering which particular property you're talking about, the easement. I know that the council, we have on the council agenda a request from landowners to transfer the easement rights from the village over to the Community Land Trust. That's still being discussed, and I think we've got a couple things to sort out, so that may come off the agenda, but that's regarding a different property. So, okay, Eric, I see you said not in this, not this, but around town. We have a lot of land around the village that is under easement, and we're calling it the green belt. If you have seen our comprehensive land use plan, there's a future land use map or current land use map and a future land use map that outlines what the conservation areas are. So I would encourage you to visit that future land use map and have a look at the sites that are the greenbelt, what's under conservation. Denise, you're online. Do you think it will be helpful to show that if that's important in the discussion, or maybe not?
Probably, excuse me, probably not. I'm fairly certain that there have been conversations though with Tecumseh Land Trust in terms of our urban service boundary, and And I believe that, the green space areas that Tecumseh Land Trust is trying to secure are outside of that urban service boundary, which is going to be the village's hard stop for annexation that would also create growth.
Okay.
There, and like you said, that comprehensive land use plan map has, that information was provided by Tecumseh Land Trust. It's what is already secured, what is, being planned for. And perhaps it may have what's, what their future hope is as well.
Mary Ann, is there anything that you would like to add?
Yes, the property directly east of that property outside the village has, I'm not sure if it's an easement, a deed restriction, maybe it's what it is, placed on that property. It's not with the Tecumseh Land Trust, it's not with Home Inc., but it has something that says at this point, unless that can be broken, only one housing unit can be built. So that might be what Eric is thinking of.
Okay, thank you, Mary Ann. Okay, Philip, any additional questions? No? Okay. All right. Well, we wanted to get the message out there. Wanted to present you with another opportunity to raise your concerns and what are some of the information you would like from us. What are the things that you care about that you would like us to consider and research or follow up on as we work through this project. I'm going to put up the timeline of what we expect from this project. This is a tentative timeline. Things may change, but I think that they give us a good reference point to what we can anticipate in the coming months. And I say months because this is not something that's going to happen in 1 or 2 meetings. This is a lengthy process, and it's a very deliberate process. So there's plenty of opportunity to weigh in with council members, with us, and the Planning Commission would also be involved. So, all right, so on the 21st, council passes the services resolution. The trustees also passed their annexation services agreement. This took place on Monday at 5 p.m., right before the council meeting. During this month, the petitioner, which is the developer, must submit the agreement to the Greene County Commissioners, and within 30 days, the commissioners must deliver approval for the annexation to our clerk, our council clerk. Then there's a 60-day mandatory waiting period. We have to wait 60 days before we take any other action. During that time, in November, the Developer and Planning Commission will look at holding work sessions. The work session enables communication between these parties regarding expectations and desired outcomes. What will be included? The current calendar is that council then introduces ordinance approving annexation, which contains a development agreement. In December 21st, the council holds or passes or denies an annexation ordinance via public hearing. Then in January 4th, if that is able to move forward, the developer brings a request to zoning change for Planning Commission for a PUD, which if passed, public hearing, request includes a preliminary site plan until a Planning Commission is satisfied that the preliminary site plan meets zoning code requirements. If it doesn't, this is not passed. The recommendation will be to approve or not approve. Also, there's a possibility of it there being a PUD versus a straight zoning change. And if it is a PUD, then, and the zoning change, both are sent to council. All right, so then in January, that process starts back up at council on the request for either PUD or rezoning change. And then there's during February, there's that first reading of the ordinance of a zoning change, followed up by February 17th, a second reading of the ordinance change. If that is successful, project goes back to Planning Commission with either preliminary or final site plans, at which point the Planning Commission then has another opportunity to approve and deny or request modifications to the process. So as you can see, it's a lengthy process with several opportunities for public input. Denise, did I miss anything?
Yeah, well, just that schedule is based on them going for a PUD zoning, which is what they probably will do. Now, if they don't, it will slightly change, but there still would be the work sessions. There will still be the hearings with Planning Commission. There has to go through the rezoning, very similar as far as Planning Commission and Council for rezoning, and then Planning Commission. It's all very similar in terms of those public hearing opportunities. And then the subdivision itself would have to also go to Council for signage and approval. But we did base that timetable on the PUD because it would be highly likely that would be what they would do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Denise, for that reminder. And I spoke a lot interchangeably about a zoning change or a PUD. So Denise, thank you. That's again, this is a planning tool. So this is our best guess at what the trajectory will be for this if we go down the road that we've currently been exploring. All right, we have a question that's come in from Becky Clark. Are there any 2 or 3 family homes or apartments being planned in this development? It's really early in the process. I think if that's something that our citizens and residents want us to explore, you know, we're certainly looking at our housing study and seeing how this project fits into the goals and what fits into the mission and vision of the developer and what's possible at the site. So that's something that we can bring up with the development team and see what traction it can get.
I'd like to just make a comment about that, if I can.
Yes, of course.
Sure. If there was not any annexation, the development would be all single family homes because of Miami Township's requirements. The only possibility for 2 family or greater would be on the village's side, and that has a lot less acreage. But if this annexation goes through, I believe that they're at least considering a 2 family or duplexes is what we call them.
Mm-hmm. Denise, thank you for that point. I think that's a very critical statement that you made, that this development can happen in the township or it can happen in the village, right? If annexation doesn't go through, or for whatever reasons doesn't go through, or something happens that doesn't move forward, that the developer could still build in the township and very likely will build single family homes based on the zoning that the township allows. So I think that's a key statement, because they're by right owners, they're able to build to a certain spec that the zoning code allows. And it'll be in the township, so the village wouldn't have much say on it.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any more questions, Philip? No? Okay. Well, I don't have any questions. Does anyone here on Zoom have any questions? Okay. All right. Well, with that, we'll start closing out this town hall. We are accessible. I'm accessible. Denise, Johnny are both accessible. So if you have any questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. I think Judy Kittner, clerk for council, has been very open, and you can submit any letters, any communications that you want to submit in a council package or be directed to council. Those should be sent to Judy Kittner. All right, and with that, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I want to wish you a good night.
Thank you.